Hi, good afternoon, ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen. It's a pleasure being here for the second year running. So last year I was invited for the first blockchain summit here. It was a real success. Whilst Malta started its journey for digital innovation. Last year we had just launched our strategy on blockchain. The organizers invited me here to discuss this new blockchain strategy. A year on, we're moving ahead. So our journey continues, and it continues on other avenues. Avenues which are underpinned by the fourth industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution is our past, our present, and our future. It is drastically different from all the other industrial revolutions which we had before. As even Professor Schwab and Friedman say, why different? It is different because we've emancipated. There's a lot of technological innovation. So we're moving at faster speeds. There's more computational power. There is more memory. There is more technology. Technology that is merging, is converging, is transforming itself. So there we're seeing new realities. We're seeing AI, we're seeing blockchain, we're seeing virtual reality, we're seeing IoT merge together. This is the fourth industrial revolution. This brings us as well to a new paradigm. You have the digital world merging with the physical world, merging with the virtual world. So there, even the conception of our society, of our environment is changing, and this thanks to the fourth industrial revolution. It is society 4.0. So this is what is pushing us to think, to align our ideas. So whilst we're seeing the effects of the fourth industrial revolution as policymakers, as legislators, as a nation, we are seeing that this new reality is challenging the existing paradigm, is challenging the existing legacy. We're seeing more automation, we're seeing different actors in society, different intermediaries. Okay? We're seeing new structures. We're seeing as well new legal concepts, smart contracts with zero tolerance. How do they fit within the existing paradigm? More algorithmic governance. We're seeing as well a new concept of liability, legal personality. We're seeing that whereas before there was the digital gap which was being eradicated, now with these new technologies, with this new convergence sector, we're seeing the digital gap widening again, which is a problem. So we need to have education. Okay, we need to create new laws. Laws which at the end of the day shift us as well with the past paradigm. We're seeing that because of convergence, we have technologies which were not connected before, services related to those technologies which were not connected. So now this is a new reality. So even regulatory silos, functional equivalence, which is used to create regulation, is no longer applicable. So here we need to literally think outside of the box. This is what made us create something which we think is quite innovative. We created a new legislative regime. Last year, I had the pleasure to introduce the legislative regime with regards to blockchain. Okay? So we practically created a system, a mechanism where we regulate cryptocurrencies, which we call virtual financial assets. So we distinguish that from the financial services. You had the board governor here speaking about such important proportional regime, okay? To create more market stability, to protect the consumer, to push the technology, because the technology behind it is blockchain, which is a foundational technology. Specifically on that foundational technology, okay, which we define, which for us is innovative technology, because blockchain is part of a lot of technologies. We created an ad hoc regime as well. We created a specific authority, an authority which will cater for convergence. Our idea, our main target was not blockchain. Our idea is innovation. Our idea is convergence. Our idea is technological transformation. So that was our journey. This is where we're going today. A major player in all this will be our ITAS Act. So in this convergence, in this technological realm, we're seeing a lot of ubiquitous elements, irrespective of the innovation. And I can mention two. You have the human element, and you have software. Let's start with software. So you were speaking before about cryptocurrencies, about blockchain. We will be speaking about AI, IoT. All these emanate from functions which emanate from software, code. Blockchain, decentralization, distribution, okay? Disintermediation. This is a function which a software is providing. A software which can be centralized on a server. Okay. A software which can be centralized on a server. AI, software, it's code. IoT, code embedded with hardware. So we are seeing that is a ubiquitous element. Then there is the human, the developer that creates, the developer that develops. So his hands are there creating the software. Okay? The user, is human. The person making avail of the software is human. The possible victim is human as well. So here we're seeing that we need to tap at source. And we created a specific authority to deal with software, which is going to be a commonality for the fourth industrial revolution, and to make sure that the human is adequately protected. And Malta is the only country in the world who created a digital innovation authority. So we branched out from financial services, from a communications authority, a consumer authority. All these authorities exist in Malta. But we created an authority which is specifically tasked for digital innovation, which will cater for convergence, which will cater for technological transformation. So it will be tasked with the innovative aspect of Malta. This authority is tasked as well with a certification regime. We created services where we have systems auditors who are licensed. The authority issues guidelines for these systems auditors. And we have a certification regime, which I will amplify a little bit further in my next slide, which certifies software, innovative technology arrangement. And we started learning through blockchain, smart contracts. So the first test cases were blockchain and smart contracts. Why? Because we created a market for virtual financial assets, cryptocurrencies, where we're regulating ICOs, exchanges, wallet providers. All these people have this technology. They are redundant on DLTs. They use smart contracts. So we are certifying, we're making sure that those smart contracts, that particular technology, is safe for use. Now, these systems auditors and the people who present a blueprint, a technological blueprint for certification, will need to follow 5 key principles, which we call control objectives. So practically you have security protection, process integrity, availability, which is tied as well with auditability, confidentiality and data protection, which is very important in Europe, even here in South America, okay, and in America. These control objectives, we're going to tie in later on even with AI. We anticipated these control objectives before AI. Why? Because we were thinking about a converged world. Those were applicable as from last year, and we built upon them. These are the parameters on which systems auditors will certify. These are the parameters on which a developer, a coder, will present the blueprint. So here, what we are after is practically safety by design. And this underpinned as well our next step in our journey, which is AI, which is a natural evolution. Our strategy was not on AI, it was on convergence, it was on innovation. So AI happens to be our next chapter. I mean, I've been invited for the second blockchain summit practically days after Malta launched the consultation on its framework. We had issued a strategy before. Now we have a consultation on our AI framework. It's a consultation which is building, which is leveraging on what we already have for digital innovation. So how do we do this? First, we want to build a coherent AI ecosystem. Your governor was speaking about proportionality. So yes, a system which is safe, which is proportionate. When it is proportionate, it needs to be commensurate, okay? Which is harmonized. Why harmonized? We are not reinventing the wheel. We have certain elements which are quite unique to our proposition. However, we are following what the EU is doing, what the US is doing, what the UK is doing. So there, we are not allowed for forum shopping. Why? We cannot reinvent the wheel. We are a small country. But we have some value to give. So we're imbuing, okay, our experience from digital conversion. But we're building on the same systems, on the same parameters. So we have a safe ecosystem. And how do you build a safe ecosystem? You go on principles. If you remember, before I was discussing the control objectives, which apply to every kind of software. Building on that, we have 4 ethical principles. Even here, we're not inventing the wheel. People who know AI will definitely know the Azar-Lamar principle. We have the same elements. The UK has issued the same elements as well. Same principles. Human autonomy, it needs to prevent harm, okay? Explicability, so in lawyers' jargon, explicability is code accountability, is something which is even present in data protection legislation, in GDPR, and fairness, because the output, the code, needs to be fair. So these are the principles. However, let us go on what we have as innovative, because these principles alone will not build a framework, will not do an ecosystem. Okay? Why? Because ethics, to a certain extent, it's something which is not harmonized. What is ethical for Europe might not be ethical for Asia. Case in point, age. It is perceived differently. What is ethical in a state of peace is not ethical in a state of war. So even ethics is a nice concept, but to a certain extent it's not harmonized. So building on the principles and on the ethics behind the safety procedures in AI, we build on objectives. Objectives which at the end of the day have one original aspect, which is certification. Now you might tell me, listen, okay, this is a pie in the sky. Why? What we're trying to do is having what we call safe by design. So you need to design something which is safe. Even the concept of trust. You trust by design. So before you have AI, before you have software, you have certification, you're trusting the design. You might tell me, listen, okay, how are you going to apply this to AI? How do you have technical transparency in AI when you have black box? I will tell you, yes, this is a problem. Might be a problem. But we are creating a solution that might work hand in hand with the regulators, with the industry to overcome the problem. So black might become gray. And mind you, this does not apply only to AI. It applies to any form of software. We are thinking about having thematic technology sandboxes to accompany the certification. And the innovation comes here. Because when you converge, even authorities need to converge. So you open a sandbox for certification. That particular sandbox, you have a technology. In that particular testing environment, you have multiple authorities overlooking the output function of the particular technology. So you might have the MDIA, who is the certification authority, a data protection authority, if that particular software is heavy on processing data, okay? A financial services authority, if you have an AI, okay, which is a robo-advisor. Everything in a thematic sandbox. And there you are regulating in a converged manner, in an intelligible manner. So this is something which is completely different. So there we're creating as well something which has not been applied before, and this could be open as well to international authorities. If, for example, under financial services in Europe, you are regulated by an international body, they can have oversight. So here we are stimulating the certification regime, okay? With these particular parameters. We are making sure that at least we're trying, and you learn from these trials, you learn from the industry, so that this technology, and that includes AI, okay, is safe for use. AI and software, because software is going to be the common player in this converged environment. Speaking about converged environment, I could not leave out IoT. So even IoT is the best example of convergence. In AI, you might have a converged environment through robotics where you add hardware as well. IoT is the perfect converged environment. You have sensors, you have hardware, you have software, okay? You have communicating devices acting simultaneously and autonomously. This is the perfect example of convergence. In IoT, we are seeing as well concepts like smart homes, full automation. You rely on the software on the devices in a smart home. And you might have seen as well negative adverts or some negative aspects of what these smart homes can bring to the future. So even there, we are building on the same element of certification. And even here, we're not offering something which is new. The UK has recently issued a consultation paper on IoT where they want certification. America, same thing. They are going for certification. Why? Because you have security problems with IoT. Europe, you have the Cybercrime Act, the Cyber Act. Similar thing. They are pushing for certification. We already have a certification authority. Certification authority, which is already dealing with software certification. So for us, it's a build-up. Other countries will need to build this. For us, it will be a build-up. And it's a build-up which was not done for blockchain, it was not done for AI, it was not done for IoT. It was done for technological transformation, because this is what we have today. This is not something which applies to Malta. It applies to everybody. It applies to everybody. It's not something which is pertinent to us. We have our vision. We're sharing that vision. But this is something, technological transformation is a global phenomenon. Now you might tell me, listen, but is this perfect? You have a perfect scenario. Let me be a little bit self-critical. I don't think it's perfect, because for me, we are lacking two essential elements. All this converged technology uses data, big data. Blockchain, if regulated properly, might help here. But unless that data is correct, unless we have somebody who makes sure that the technology does not bias, does not misuse the data, and is using the correct data, we have a problem. Because the input function in the software to produce the output is not checked. So we need to tap into big data, and it's not easy. Could be that other technologies, if checked, if certified, like AI, blockchain, can help us there. And this big data is a problem, because even with IoT, we're going to have more data. With a digital persona of people, online, kids, more data, more profiling, more data mining. It's a very big problem. Another problem is, and I mentioned it in my previous slide, algorithmic governance. I was doing a lot of emphasis on software, on the human. I am a lawyer. I am regulated. I need to have a license to operate, a warrant. My fellow doctors, they need to have a note, a warrant. If you are an architect, you need to be warranted. If you are a taxi driver, you need to have a license. If you collect garbage, you need to have a form of approval. If you're selling stuff and you have a shop, you need to have a license. We have people who are coding. People who are coding code which is so pervasive, which can affect our fundamental human rights. Are these people licensed? No. Why is it so? How am I going to enforce ethics on somebody who has no license? What has he to lose? If I don't do my job properly, I lose my warrant. If an architect does not do his job properly, he loses his warrant, he can't work. What about software? Coders. And when we're saying that software is becoming so central in today's life, all the economy is underpinned by software. So why aren't we regulating software developers? So those two issues for me are still untapped. And unless we tap them correctly and in a proportionate manner, our journey is still long ahead of us. But I will stop here. And I will stop with the words of two people who are much wiser than me, Professor Lessig and Professor Fuller. At the end of the day, with code, with software, we are the humans. We are there to dictate our future. But to dictate it, we need to have a positive attitude. To dictate it, we need to act. If we take a passive stand with this technological convergence, I think we're doomed to fall. We're doomed to fail. But Society 4.0, I don't think that society will fail. We'll move to 5.0, but by moving to 5.0, we need to literally reshape, remodel our internal thoughts. Thank you.